Hi, my name is Josh Smith, and welcome to our three-step system that will help you to start filling your own events. This is my partner Levi and I. I'm the one on your left, next to the electric guitar, and our company is called We Fill Events. Now, our entire purpose as a company is to put heartfelt speakers with a genuine purpose to serve on stages around the world in front of audiences so that they can make the impact that they desire through their unique expertise. To date, we've promoted just over 900 events. The current number, it's sitting somewhere around 912, I think. And it's through those events that we've registered hundreds of thousands of people into unique audiences globally. Our clients' ads have been seen billions of times across 5 continents, and our success rate floats somewhere between 98 and 99%. But enough about us, because this is about you, and we don't have very long to get through everything that I'd like to get through today. In this presentation, I'm going to dissect everything you need to get started with your own events, and we're going to break it right down into 3 bite-sized sections. My challenge today is in taking over a decade's cumulative experience between Levi and I, the work we've done together, the work we've done separately, all through events, and then rolling that into just 1 hour, and in such a way that it's enough that you can put some runs on the board ASAP to prove that this system really does work, so you can use it so you can scale off into whatever realm you want to with your speaking. Essentially, at the highest level, at the highest chunked up level, filling events, or more importantly, building a business that centers or just features around events and is speaking as a tool for growth, needs 3 things. 1, the promotional side, because if you can't successfully market your events and consistently get an audience, no one will ever get to experience you for how awesome you are. So in this presentation, I'm going to show you the key strategies you need to make this happen, no matter what level of speaker you are or how big or small your events are going to be. So we're going to look at things like partnerships, networking, and advertising, and how they all sort of work. Number 2 is the registration side, making sure that you have a way to technically manage your events and take your registrations, store them, communicate to them, and use for your marketing down the track. I'm going to give you several awesome platforms that will help you do this easily and effectively. So with this, we'll look at things like landing pages and all-in-one online tools that you can begin to use immediately. And number 3 is the engagement side. And this is all about retaining your registrants and engaging them, particularly if you're doing free events, because you've got to make sure that your show-up rate is going to be as high as possible. Beyond your events, it's also about nurturing the database that you are going to build through doing your events, so that you can utilize it for your marketing benefits into the future. So with engagement, we're going to look at retention systems, lead nurture, and briefly speak about the paid versus free events and how that factors into how you have to communicate with the database that you build. So with that, let's dive straight in and look at the speaking business. The speaking business is a wonderful thing for many reasons. In fact, I recently wrote a book titled Industry Leader: How to Build a Sustainable, Scalable, and Profitable Speaking Business, which goes through this at length. Now, that book isn't on the market just quite yet. It's just gone through its 2nd or 3rd draft, and I'm just getting ready to send it through to the publishers. So I have a draft digital copy of it, but it won't be at the publishers still for maybe another couple of months. But it's essentially written. Now, you don't have to solely be a speaking business to reap the benefits of speaking, and I do talk about this a lot in the book. You can simply just bolt on a speaking element to your core business, which many entrepreneurs do, and it still adds tremendous value to your brand and your finances. So when you're out there doing events and talks and workshops, 4 incredibly awesome things that start to happen around you and happen for you. So number 1 is rapid lead generation. Your lead generation activities from doing events and speaking will literally go into hyperdrive. The thing to realize is that registering people for your events, it's a lead generation tool. It's not just simply about the events. You are getting leads in the process going into your database, which you get to use down the track. So whether you're doing big events or little events, when you register people, you are getting leads through your funnel, which is essentially them qualifying themselves to your services at one end of the spectrum or another. Number 2 is that it's a massive sales accelerator. Sales tend to happen really thick and fast when you're out there doing events and doing speaking, and they tend to happen a lot faster than maybe you've ever experienced before. Events help you create a pipeline of potential customers and clients that allow you to sell in a one-to-many environment as opposed to a one-to-one environment, which can clog your sales process at times, which most business owners would fully understand. There's nothing wrong with doing the one-to-one sale. In fact, it's, in my view, it's my favorite way to be selling because it's more personal. But when you're scaling and you're building a bigger business and you can do one-to-many in a successful manner that's still intimate, then doing events there's nothing else quite like it for bolstering your sales. Now, number 3 is that your profile enhancement really lifts very quickly. When you're running events and you're on stage, people can't help but put you on a pedestal as the go-to expert for your industry. I mean, you have to obviously be up there making sense and saying good things and giving good value, but assuming that you have that down pat, people do put you on that pedestal and you become the expert in their eyes. Being in front of an audience, sharing your content and your story magnifies your profile and seriously makes you the go-to expert. Now, number 4 is that as a result of all this and the profile enhancement, you get to become a key person of influence. So as a result, largely of a raised profile, you become, what my friend Daniel Priestley is the master of educating entrepreneurs in, which is becoming a key person of influence, a KPI. As a key person of influence, you go to the top of the pile as a leader of your field. And when you get to that point, you get to reap the cream of the opportunities. You get to pick and choose the projects you work on, and you will earn the most money. And enjoying being the go-to expert, that healthy chunks of your market will simply gravitate towards. So let's check out the first step, which is promoting. To run events, you need to be able to fill them consistently. There are typically 2 types of speakers. The type of speaker you are determines how to best promote and carry out your marketing tasks. So the MacGyver speaker, less risky, slower to scale, built on resourcefulness and hustle. Safer, more conservative route, usually a good first step for most, but still lucrative and exciting. Now at this point you might be looking at that name the MacGyver and thinking, well, that's kind of odd. Why would you call a speaker type a MacGyver? So essentially we have 2 speaker types, which I'm going to show you, the MacGyver and the boat burner. How they came about is that when I was writing the book, Industry Leader, How to Build a Sustainable, Scalable, Profitable Speaking Business, I kind of had this idea around the 2 speakers that we see the most coming through our business, the most that we sort of help, and I didn't know what label to give them, and through thinking it through, I created these 2 placeholders, the MacGyver and the boat burner, because the MacGyver speaker is essentially doing whatever they can to fill their events, grow their speaking business, get on stages, and sort of do their thing. So they're the master of being resourceful and hustle. And, if you go back to the 80s and remember anything about MacGyver, he was the kind of guy who would build a jet ski out of a coffin. And he actually did that. There was an episode where he built a jet ski out of a coffin. And there's a really great GIF online that shows him doing that. So I like the name in it, and I was running the book through one of my mentors, and I told him about these 2 placeholders, and he actually sort of came back to me and said, "Look, I actually think your placeholders are great. They make sense and they're funny. You should keep them." So I did, and they stuck, and hence why we have the MacGyver and the boat burner. So let's take a look at the boat burner. The boat burner is out to take the island. They're moving fast, they're scaling high, and they're open to more risk and challenge for richer, faster reward and huge levels of recognition. Being a boat burner is really a high scale, fast moving type speaking business where you're out there doing maybe multiple cities, doing several events a month or a quarter, doing maybe 15, 20 events plus a year. Really going out there and building a speaking business around a strong ascension model, which I'm going to mention a bit more sooner. So let's take a step back and let's look at marketing. So promoting as a MacGyver and how you should be approaching that. Promoting your events as a MacGyver speaker is very different, but at the same time can utilize many of the same methods as the boat burner, but just at different levels of scale and intensity. So as a MacGyver speaker, I would recommend that you partner and create joint ventures wherever possible that of course make sense and in line with your brand and values, which will help you to promote your events, because you're going to have to leverage as many people and as many organizations as you can to help you achieve your goals and promote your events. get people through the door and into your rooms. So often, you already have a lot of opportunities available to you within your existing network, just one or two contacts removed. The key to approach this is to think about people who serve your ideal kinds of clients, but who are not your competitors, and team up with them to gain their help promoting through their database for you. You can incentivize them in all sorts of ways to do so. That collaboration that you have between both parties, you can create a lot of different ways in which you can benefit them by them helping you, and so forward. The key approach to this is to think about people who, like I just said, people who serve your ideal clients but not your competitors, and I can't stress how powerful a strategy that is. The trick here is to do a bit of recon on your network that you already have, and do research into the network that you could build that would allow you to create strategic partnerships that will assist you in your marketing efforts. This, as a MacGyver speaker, will probably be the single most powerful thing that you could do to help your cause. And then from that point, promoting can then be done through email lists, social media posts, SMS marketing. So just on that, SMS marketing is a really powerful way to send out good marketing with call to actions these days. It's still sort of flying under the radar in a sense. There's people doing it, but not as much obviously as email marketing, which has been around for a long time. You and I both receive a lot of emails a day from all sorts of different companies promoting something, but SMS is still flying under that radar a bit. And the beauty with SMS is that, of course, when you get an SMS, it's very hard to not open it and read it. So if you're sending out SMS messages, you're getting like 100% open rate every single time, as opposed to emails where some get stuck in junk boxes, some just get deleted straight away, never get read. You're looking at a lot different sort of percentages in terms of open rate and click-through rates with emails as opposed to SMS. Now, the other great way is sponsors. Sponsors are a great way to add credibility to your event and help reduce the costs of running your events. If these sponsors, they part fund their way into aligning with you. If you're lucky and get really great sponsors on board, they'll even assist you with your marketing on top, and that is really just a win-win-win. So the other thing that you can do as a MacGyver, or even as a boat burner, but as a MacGyver as well, is of course share stages with other speakers. Find out what events are happening in the future that are near you, that are aligned to your brand and what you could add value through, and approach the organizers to get on the bill. Or, create new events and approach some speakers to collaborate with you on that and combine your marketing efforts. Other speakers, they have their databases, and if you join forces with them to create events, then they will be able to take a lot of that marketing burden away from you by promoting through their database, through their social media followings and so on, to make sure that you guys can show up and do your thing to a nice full room. Now let's look at boat burner marketing. With boat burners, the avenues in which you can market through are much the same in many ways, with just a key distinguisher being in the rate in which they're scaling and the size in which you're using perhaps. So the way in which boat burners do this in our world is that primarily they will use Facebook ads, which allow them to scale out and fill their events quite literally in any major-ish city around the world, where they can put together audiences of 50 to 100 to 500 in the space of just a month to 6 weeks worth of promoting. It's pretty crazy how fast you can scale using Facebook. But why this is a boat burner strategy, and not so much a MacGyver strategy, is that this is a fast scaling, more expensive in the short term approach to rapidly filling events and workshops, and it needs to be executed only when the speaker has a strong ascension model behind them and the capability to deliver their products, services, and programs to larger volumes of people with a high success rate. So if you don't have these things fine-tuned around your events and your speaking business, or the speaking element that you're plugging in, if you haven't got all that fine-tuned, I wouldn't recommend going this route where you're going to spend quite heavily for a little period to get all your leads through so that you can get in and sell through your ascension model. Now, ascension model is a whole other discussion if you're wondering what that is. But in short, it's essentially the business behind the speaker. So, no speaker should be going out there blindly just doing events with no substance happening after those events, because you will burn money whether you're just doing it as a MacGyver or if you're actually doing it as a boat burner and spending significant money to get your audiences in the cities that you're speaking or just your locality where you're speaking. If you don't have a suite of programs, products, and services that people can then engage with you further post that event, then you will waste money going to the trouble of putting these events if you can't service people who are obviously going to put you on that pedestal, like I mentioned, as the go-to expert, and they're going to want to engage with you. If you can't service them after the event, if you don't have an ecosystem of products around doing so, then you will get stuck. So boat burners, they work hard to put a really good business behind the events that they're running, so that when people are coming through and see them speak, that they can then quickly step into a program that makes sense for them based on where they are. So Ascension Model is really, really key for the boat burner speakers. So let's look at number 2, which is registration. Now that we've looked at the promotional side of filling your events at the 2 different speaker levels, let's look a little deeper into the technical side to how to actually go about it. So to fill events, you obviously need a way to register attendees. There are complex ways to do this that may require you to get some help, but there's also simple, fast ways to get started which you can make happen right now. So there's 4 pillars for event registration. There are many ways in which you can register attendees for your events, especially online, which is where you really should be registering your attendees. But let's look at 4 ways that you can do so, 3 of which you can get started with immediately with little to no tech how. So the first way is through custom landing pages, as you can see on my screen now. Building custom landing pages for your events is really powerful because it gives you ultimate control over design, aesthetics, and all-round ways to showcase your event on a web page and how you want it to be shown. The trick though is that often it comes with a bit of tech know-how, or the ability to outsource it properly and cost effectively. Don't get me wrong, it's not impossible to do it yourself. There are many more tools out there today than there ever have been that making building web pages for yourself very doable and at any level of skilled user. You don't have to be able to code, write HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that kind of stuff that's just confusing and scary. You don't have to do that anymore. There's really great tools that allow you to drag and drop and play very nicely online and create really cool stuff. Tools that make building landing pages nice and easy include things like Instapage, Optimize Press 2, ClickFunnels, Lead Pages, and even Wix, just to name a couple. If I had to recommend one, I'd suggest Instapage. This page that you can see on my screen now was built through Instapage. However, they're a little pricey, and that it costs roughly $600 a year to use their platform. But they're very user-friendly, and they help you build conversion-focused landing pages quickly. However, if you want to get started immediately and get something up live as fast as today to start registering attendees for your next event, then here's where I would start in this order. So let's look at Eventbrite. The chances are you've heard of a website called Eventbrite. Eventbrite is literally a search engine for events where you can find all sorts of live workshops, seminars, and conferences anywhere you want, and of course create event tools of your own, which is really, really fantastic. The magic of Eventbrite is that it gives you all the tools that you could need to run and manage the registration components of your events. It allows you to create pages for them with all the marketing messaging that goes with. You can easily send out links to your events as well as embed ticketing forms directly onto your website or someone else's. And then on top of that, it can provide you with organic registrations for your event as people search for events to go to that match your criteria. So it's an incredible all-around tool for you. And on top of that, Eventbrite, it also handles your ticketing. When people register, they'll get emailed their tickets as well as reminders about the event. And if you're doing a paid event, then they'll even help you with the sales processing and act as your e-commerce platform. It's a great all-in-one platform that will get you started very, very quickly. Now, on top of all of this, Eventbrite allows you to export spreadsheets of the details of the registrants you've signed up, like email, phone number, names, obviously, for which you can plug straight into your CRM. This, of course, allows you to market to that database down the track. Having a database is a powerful business asset, which you probably already know this, but we'll still look at it in a little bit shortly. But having a database is very, very key, and every business should have one. Now, if you can get really fancy if you wanted, and with like an Eventbrite, you can use a tool called Zapier. Now, Zapier is another online tool that can do things for you automatically in the background. So you could have people register for your event in Eventbrite, and then using Zapier in the background, they will simply take the leads coming through Eventbrite and automatically port them into your CRM, whether it be an Aweber or a MailChimp or Infusionsoft, wherever you're storing your business's database. But that's sort of a little bit down the rabbit hole of where I didn't want to go today, because we don't really have the time. But just to put it out there as a little nugget of information for you. So as you can see on my page, this is an Eventbrite setup for an event happening here in London. Now, these guys actually recently came on as a client, so we're not doing anything for them on Eventbrite. We're doing custom landing pages for them, obviously. But just to show you how quickly you can get started on Eventbrite, creating a page for your upcoming event with all the marketing and copy that goes into it. You can even put things like sort of video, and using Eventbrite, it has great little tags here and there to help people find your event. So things like location, interest, and so on. Shows the map of where it's at. Registering is really, really easy, where this would go through to another page where if it was paid, you could purchase your tickets securely and safely. And it takes all the details that the user of this event, the creator, would like to capture, which can be very, very basic, or it can be sort of very complex. Eventbrite offers a lot of options in this space, and Eventbrite, they allow you to design your page quite nicely as well. This is actually a very basic setup, but you can get quite cute and fancy with it if you choose to. So this is a really, really great tool that I would highly recommend that you use, along with another one called meetup.com, which you may have heard of. Now, Meetup is a very interesting one that I'm a big fan of. I found that when I've used it in slower cities to adopt, like Perth, for example, Perth, Western Australia, it wasn't as eminent as some other cities. Like when I was running meetup groups in San Francisco, I found that people were far more receptive to it, and the events just took off very, very quickly using Meetup. But in short, it's another great platform that has a completely different vibe to Eventbrite. It's the same in many ways, in that it gives you a front to showcase your events, but it's more centered around building like-minded communities. So it works really hard to match people with interest in your subject matter to your events and what they're about. So the platform, it also helps you manage your guest list, much like Eventbrite, and I would use it as well as Eventbrite, not instead of. So if you can see here on my page, this is also quite a basic meetup page. They do give you some nice design tools. This group here hasn't really used too many of them, but you can see it's London Internet Marketing Network, and scroll down, you can see who's going. You can see the tags of what this event sort of covers, which helps you filter down, and if you're searching for events to go to, or if you're the creator of this event for your marketing purposes, you put in all the tags that are going to help people find you, which makes organic registrations for your event sort of very easy to come across. It also even shows events that are coming up as well that are similar, which I as a user might be interested in. And of course, you have a little bit of marketing spiel here that sort of goes into it. And again, this group here hasn't really done a whole lot in terms of what you can do. I know that you can embed videos and images, and you could structure the copy a little bit more to be more sort of marketing friendly, I guess is the right word. So after Meetup, we have, lastly but not least, is Facebook events. Very quick and easy to set up, and the benefit of Facebook events being is that they serve as a quick tool to let your Facebook friends and or fans, followers, know about your upcoming events that you have coming up. I would recommend you set this up after you get an Eventbrite page and meetup group going that are promoting your events, and probably not as a standalone tool to market your events and register your attendees. Consider this like a bolt-on to help you leverage your social network on Facebook, but as a standalone tool to market your event, register attendees. I wouldn't trust this as the sole go-to platform, unless you had a massive Facebook following that was really receptive and active with you. I would just use it as a bolt-on. But you can see here that I've got a Facebook event up for Simon Sinek, who's coming to London. Obviously very popular at the moment online. He's sort of getting a lot of notice and energy, which is great because I'm actually also a big fan of his. But you can see that, good little image and all the details of the event coming up, location, how to get tickets. A friend of mine who was going, so social credibility makes me want to go a little bit more. A link embedded here that allows me to go out and register for it. Some posts around the event and other media sort of that's attached to it. So all really, really great tools that will help you get started very, very quickly with launching an event as early as today that can help you get started and start planning. So now let's look at number 3, which is the engagement side. In the lead up to the event, and especially after the event as well, how you engage your registrants or your leads can have a massive impact on your show-up rate and marketing goals for the long term. Staying connected to your leads is really, really important, particularly in the lead up to your events if you're running free events, because it can help you dramatically improve your show-up rate. Now, there's a whole world of difference in the dynamics between paid and free events, for which I don't really have the time to go into enough valuable detail right now in a way that sort of would probably leave you with more questions than answers. But just know that they both have their pros and cons. It's just about knowing the model that suits you best. As a very general rule of thumb, if you're still building your profile and gaining experience with your speaking and you don't have lots of options with your promotional efforts, then free works really well. On the contrary, if you have lots of credibility and experience in your industry and have gained access to abundant promotional sources who can strongly vouch for you, then you'll likely be able to pull off a paid event. So there are 3 easy steps for perfect engagement. 3 key strategies that you can use for your engagement tasks, and they include emails, SMS, and follow-up calls. So again, if you're doing a free event, you're going to need to work a little bit harder and put more effort into your engagement system, or as we otherwise call it, retention or stick sequence, to maximize your show-up rate. So in doing so, you should use emails, SMS, and follow-up calls in unison together, not just one or the other. Now, with your emails, you should have them sent out at the time of someone registering your event. Have several emails then go to them between the point of them registering and finally a point of them registering and attending. And then finally, a day or 2 prior to the event itself, you should have just a last email going out as a reminder, event details, your venue details as well, just to try and create just an extra spike in your show-up rate. Now, these emails that go out in between, think of them like bonus content emails. It's not just sending an email for the sake of sending an email. Try and send something that is of value to stay on top of mind for your new leads who've registered your event. You can send them tips, you can send them videos, insights, links to blogs or articles. The sky really is the limit in terms of touching base with them in the lead up to your event. The result of sending them good content, for the most part, it just gets them more excited about the brand, more excited about you, and simply just excited to attend in general. And if you send out really good content, it helps to build that perception of you as the key person of influence, the leader in your field, and it sets you up for a lot of success. So I really highly recommend it, even outside of just helping you to boost your show-up rate. The work it does for your brand and profile is exceptional. Now, with the SMS for our clients, we usually set it up so that one can go out to the registrant immediately upon registering for an event. It's basically like a thank you message, and then one more 24 hours before the event itself as a quick reminder of the start time and location, and just a final, thanks for registering. I'm still really excited to see you. You can get creative with your message. You just got to try and fit it all into 160 characters to make sure you're not sending, a text that's multiple texts in one, because it will cost more if you're sending in bulk, using sort of a credit system. I'll talk about that a little more in a second. But finally, we have the really, really important one, which is follow-up calls. If you want to get very serious with your engagement strategy, maximize your show-up rate, which ultimately as a speaker will help you to make more money from your events, I'd highly recommend that you call each registrant within 48 hours of them registering for your event, and then again within 5 days of the event itself. Or if that seems like too much work, then you could only choose one, then do it 5 days from the event itself, within 5 days. These calls, they serve as a really good way to connect with your leads, to help you significantly boost your show-up rates and answer any questions people might have around the event itself, because questions do come up and sometimes they don't get answered through the page they registered in, some of the emails that you've sent through, and sometimes just speaking to someone can sort of get those questions out, and the answers of which can do a lot of really great work for your brand and keep boosting that show-up rate, which is really, really crucial. Now, it's great for your brand to do this, particularly from a customer support perspective. And if you're a MacGyver and you're only running sort of smaller events less frequently, then it becomes a lot easier to pick up the phone and call sort of the people you need to who've registered for your event. If you're a boat burner and you're doing, like a 4, 5, 6 city tour in the space of 2 weeks, and you've got literally thousands of people registered for your event, or high hundreds, then calling can be a bit more of a task, and it's good to get a bit of help with that. But it really does pay dividends, so I couldn't recommend it highly enough. But okay, so you might be wondering at this point, wanting to stop me and say, look, these emails and SMS, they sound great, but how do you do it, and how do you automate it? Well, the answer is simple, and it comes down to one thing, and that one thing is a CRM, or a customer relationship manager. And I mentioned it sort of pretty briefly just earlier. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you already use one, or at the very least, you've heard of one. Simply put, they're tools that allow you to automate your communications and marketing via email and SMS to a database that you build. It's that easy. So the trick is in picking what's right for you based on your needs as a speaker, because there are fancy and pricey do-it-all-in-one CRMs, and then there's low-cost, simple list building and basic email marketing CRMs. So it's about choosing or knowing what you need, and a little bit of information will help you sort of figure that out. So let's look at 3 CRM options. Ultimately, there really are many options available to you in the CRM department. But to make life simple, let me just give you my recommendations and keep it nice and simple, and save you from going into overwhelm, and actually give you something that you can sort of action fairly quickly and get started with. So if you're a MacGyver speaker playing it a little more safe and local and not scaling too high and fast, then I recommend MailChimp or Aweber. These tools are really quite basic. They're low-cost email marketing platforms that will allow you to grow your database of registrants and leads and communicate to them via email as you need to for your engagement strategy, and of course for your long-term marketing goals as well. If you're a MacGyver, you're playing it slow and easy, using a MailChimp or Aweber, they really will help you to get started in a low-cost fashion, and you'll get a lot of runs on the board using that. So as a MacGyver, highly recommend that you use one of these 2 for the time being. Now, in terms of SMS, if you were going with MailChimp or Aweber, then using Google, you can quickly find a pay-as-you-go, easy-to-use bulk SMSing platform, which allow you to simply import a list of mobile phone numbers and type your message up and hit send. Now, the thing with this, the reason I can't give you an exact platform to use, is that they tend to be very location sort of specific. So I could give you a platform like SMS Broadcast, which is very good in Australia and the UK, but I know that you can't use it in other countries. Like if you were speaking in the US or Canada, you would have to use a different system, which is a shame, because SMS Broadcast is very good. It's user friendly and it's easy to manage, but it's not one that you can use everywhere in the world. So unfortunately, that's why you have to get on Google and do a bit of research to see sort of what you can use that's relevant to the area in which you are. The only caveat, though, is with sort of the Aweber MailChimp sort of system that's sort of more MacGyver driven. Is that using SMS Broadcast or like their other, it's a very sort of manual process, and where you have to upload your list of emails, your mobile contact numbers into it, type your message up, hit send. And if you were doing these in batches for different locations, or doing it sort of more frequently, you'd have to do the whole thing manually as sort of needed for the most part, as opposed to automating it, which is sort of a lot more help, particularly if you're a boat burner and you're scaling a lot higher. But look, if you're a MacGyver, then this is all cool, because this is the journey for you, and it's about being resourceful. It's about bootstrapping and sort of learning the process as you go, and just sort of doing a bit more work in the back end for yourself and discovering the process. So as a MacGyver, this is cool, but look, if you're actually a boat burner and you're wanting to go that route, then you're going to want to look at sort of automating a lot more of it. And here's where we'll start to chat a bit more about that now. So for the more advanced, high scaling, fast moving speaker, leaning more towards the boat burner style of growth, then you simply cannot live without Infusionsoft. Okay, this is an expensive system, but it's hands down the best for managing events, running intelligent marketing campaigns that are truly tailored to your leads and where they sit within the life cycle of your business, and so much more. Infusionsoft, it also has an integrated SMS marketing tool called Fix Your Funnel. Well, it's actually a plugin. You use it separately as a different website, but it plugs directly into Infusionsoft and it automates perfectly. It will really assist you to heavily automate your campaigns beyond what just Infusionsoft email campaigns will allow. So if you're going big with your events, and by big, I mean, I literally just mean 30 to 50 people several times a month, or even a quarter, then Infusionsoft will pay for itself. It really, really will pay for itself. So here's the truth though, and in some ways the simplest thing that you could do to get off the ground in the next few hours if you wanted is to simply get started with Eventbrite as well as Meetup. Using these two platforms will be like hitting two birds with one stone. Not only do they act as your registration portal or landing page to register your events through, they'll also act as your CRM in the lead up to your event, right? Sending emails without any oversight from you to help with ticketing and your show up rates. But of course, you can't send custom email marketing campaigns through them, which is kind of the only downfall. I mean, actually, with Meetup, you kind of can. You do have a little bit of wiggle room to create custom emails that can be sent out to the people who've registered to be a part of your group and the ones that have registered for your events that come within the group. So in that sense, Meetup has a slight edge on Eventbrite, because Eventbrite, it just automates the emails that it sends out from the time that someone registers for your event. But they're both fantastic tools, and they will help you tremendously. So if you're going to get started immediately with the least amount of stress and moving pieces, then I would totally utilize Eventbrite and Meetup, and then Facebook events as a handy extra. So we've been through a lot. So we've covered as much as we could sort of in this power hour, but let's go through it all again really, really fast and try to make sure that it's stuck. So number one, within the 3 simple steps for getting started, filling your events, it comes down to promotion. This is your marketing. How will you get your events filled to ensure that you can make the impact that you aspire to? So we looked at how to go about this no matter what level of speaking business you're building, whether you're a MacGyver or whether you're a boat burner. So, and it doesn't matter if your events are going to be 5 people a month or 500 people a month. using things like strategic partnerships, collaborating with other speakers, running Facebook ads, doing SMS and email marketing campaigns, sharing stages. These are all fantastic ways of running your promotional side of filling your events. Number 2, we had the logistical side, right? So what will you use to register your guests, start building a database of leads for the business, all that kind of thing. So now you know of great tools like Eventbrite, Meetup.com, as well as Facebook events that will get you going super fast. And then finally, we had the engagement side, the nurture side to managing your leads. What should you implement to keep your registrants engaged with you and connected long term? We looked at CRMs like Aweber, MailChimp, and Infusionsoft, and then how to use email, SMS, and follow-up calls to engage your leads and keep show-up rates high, as well as benefit your marketing long term. Because the way to approach this is that this really is a long-term play, and the database that you're going to build over time through running your events, if you look after that database well and you feed them good content and you nurture them, not just simply send sales emails to them all the time, you will grow a really strong database, which I can't stress enough becomes a very powerful asset for your business over time, which I couldn't sell the value of it to you highly enough. Having a strong database is perfect. So there you really sort of have it. The 3-step system to filling your events in the simplest sense, it comes down to being able to promote, doing that in intelligent ways that are going to be resourceful for you and help you get going. And then obviously have a way to register your guests and manage them through a system. And then finally engaging with them, making sure that they're sort of cared for and nurtured and communicated with, so that they're up to speed with the event, what the information is around the event, venue details, anything else that comes up around it. And then, of course, harnessing the power of that database for the long term, so that you can achieve your future marketing goals for the business through that database. So there you kind of have it, guys. With all that, I would love to just thank you for your time and focus as we flew through the 3-step system to filling your events. It was truly a challenge for me to break it down to that small of a presentation and deliver it that fast. So I apologize if you feel as though you took a drink out of a fire hose. But literally what I've just done is I've taken sort of the best parts and condensed it down to the easiest format of sort of over 10 years of worth of work between sort of Levi and myself and sort of our passion in assisting good, heartfelt speakers get on stage and make their difference, and just sort of bundle it into a digestible sort of package that allows you to now go off and begin taking the steps that you need to create your difference, to get on your stages and make your impact. Because at the end of the day, there's people right around the world that are just waiting to hear from you. There's a lot of us are going out there with, and we do this sort of very similar things to the person next to us, but a lot of the beauty of it comes down to the distinctions that are within the message that I have compared to the next person who might be doing something very similar to me. And it's in those distinctions that there's a pool of people out there just waiting to hear from you, who are going to resonate at best from the words that will come from your mouth as you're up there sharing your story and your education. So I really encourage you to go out there, use everything that I've shared today to the best of your ability, and just hustle your way through to getting the runs on the board so that you can scale with this appropriately. Rome wasn't built in a day. All right, so don't expect to be going out there and speaking in front of 2,000 people at a time, and if it's not that, then it's not worth it, because that's simply not the case. You can really achieve so much speaking to very small rooms, just once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is. You will be surprised at just how much you can get achieved by playing it small to begin with and scaling up and very gradually over a period of time. Okay, so thank you very much. It was a pleasure to share this with you, and I really hope that you got something great from it.